Next up is Bitwise Agronomy. It's run by a Kiwi now living across the ditch. Fee and her team have created the Greenview software using computer vision, which is a type of artificial intelligence, to count and measure the growth stages of berry crops from videos taken by growers with either off-the-shelf GoPro cameras attached to farm machinery or by hand just using their cell phones, predicting berry yield forecasts at a massive 90% accuracy. And I'll let her fill you in on all the details. Over to you, Fee.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. I'm Fee from Bitwise Agronomy. Yeah, it's a little bit about us and how we started. So, we do forecasting for really niche, the specialty fruit, in particular berries, so raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. I'm a farmer myself, but I've had a long career in technology where I was kind of traveling. I have a vineyard in Tasmania and I was traveling for work, building sort of smart and manless factories. So I was using a lot of AI and vision technologies in these factories. And I was like, well, my vineyard's out of control. How can I know what's going on in my farm and how do I go from there? So I built a vision system using artificial intelligence, and the berry industry came knocking pretty quickly. And what we found was that, the berry industry have a really high stress problem of not being able to forecast. So when we're trying to forecast every week for maybe 15 weeks of the berry season and give that forecast to a marketer who's then negotiating with the supermarkets and setting the price, we want to give the supply chain confidence so they can set the best price. And what we found was that was super hard to do it on a weekly basis. You might be able to go for the whole season. Yeah, I'm going to pick 1,000 tons, but how does that actually fall on a weekly basis? And, so many things influence that, from weather to solar to pruning styles to plastics to all sorts of things. So that's what we do. So how we do it. So all you need is a GoPro camera. You attach it to your existing farm machinery. When you're out there doing other jobs, you take about 5% of the area of interest in video. People do it as an individual job. It doesn't take very long. You only need to take the imagery every 2 weeks. And that 5% represents sort of in a month, it takes about 10 minutes per hectare to collect that information. You then upload that at the end of the day into our portal, and then overnight we run it through our artificial intelligence. But the artificial intelligence looks at the different phenological stages of the fruit, from a flower to a pickable fruit. We then take those sort of counts that we see and do a whole lot of analysis and add another layer of artificial intelligence on top of that to give you a forecast. Now, there are a couple of other companies out there that count things, but because I'm a farmer, I know that counting how many fruit is on pieces of fruit or on a plant, times that by a weight, doesn't equal what you're going to be picking in the next week. And so after talking to our customers over the last couple of years, what we found was understanding how that fruit ripens at every given time is extremely hard. And, because we haven't been able to track that fruit at mass, we haven't been able to develop ripening curves that are highly accurate. We've got ripening curves that give us a trend, but not highly accurate ripening curves. So we used our data and artificial intelligence to develop over 150 ripening curves for 55 different varieties of berries all across the world. So if you're a Driscoll's grower and you're growing the Zara variety of strawberry, you can ring us up and say, hey, we want to start forecasting for Zara. And we're like, great, we've got ripening curves from Zara, from Scotland, from Tasmania, and from England. And we'll pick and place the right one that's as similar to your climate and then tweak it for your farm as well. That then allows us to give highly accurate weekly forecasts that are within 90% accuracy. So what we do, so I sort of told you a little bit about it. I've jumped ahead here, but basically the 90% accuracy will then be used most customers use it to put into their systems for their marketers to then develop the regional forecast and set the price. To give you an example of why this is so important, we did some analysis on one of our growers, and this grower grows 10 hectares of strawberries. Now, this grower on average was having rejection events of fruit where they were under forecasting. So they thought they were going to pick, say, 5 tons this week, and they ended up picking 9.5 tons. That 4.5 tons that they haven't sold, they were getting a rejection event on. They thought they were going to get $15 a kg for that fruit, but in the end, they only got $3 a kg. So on this 10-hectare farm, they were having that happen on average over 3 years to 60 tonnes. And that equated to about $660K a year in loss of earnings. So by forecasting well, you can really change that gross margin on your farm, and that's what we achieve. So we'll do a rolling 7-day forecast or a 1-week forecast, or we can forecast to pick dates. We have an app that you use in the field as well to help with ground truthing or to give you sort of confidence in the field. And our existing customers that use that, their cumulative value for the top 10 customers, they produce over $5.5 billion worth of berries on the global market. So we have quite a big user base in hectares at the moment. So the growers that really get the most out of the system that this is designed for is berry growers that are already submitting a weekly or a monthly forecast to a marketer or to, a marketing department that are trying to find a market for those berries. The other key is that, if you're trying to forecast and you're finding that you have inconsistencies from farm to farm or from, forecaster to forecaster who's counting the berries in the field. So we take away the ambiguity from the humans and we reduce that waste for rejections events. So if growers fall into that sort of those categories, what we will say is that we're not a magic black box to forecasting. If you don't forecast at the moment and you don't have things like berry weights or, track how much you're picking on a weekly basis, we're probably not the best fit for you. You need to be already forecasting. In terms of the pilot, how it works is that we'll go over the whole berry season. The berry season had started already. We're probably into our first few weeks of picking already, but that doesn't matter. We can start at any point in the season and we'd work it all the way to the end of the season. So every 2 weeks, we need people on the pilot project program to take a 5% sample of the area of interest, and consistency is key here. We need to understand your weekly berry weights. We work with you to understand what we call our visibility factor, what we can and can't see. We'll get weather data from a generic weather service, and if you have in-field sensors, we'll use that as well. And you'll provide us with your weekly pick data so we can just validate that the curves are correct for your particular farms. And then every 2 weeks, as soon as you upload the data, we'll give a forecast back within 12 hours. We'll have a bi-weekly meeting where we'll go into the detail of the forecast to help with that change management and also give you sort of confidence in the system. So the price that we're doing, the sort of special offer that we're doing for the pilot program is that it's a 12-month license or subscription for $10,000. Normally our entry level price is $17,500. And, that is for up to 5 hectares and, maybe 2 different varieties of fruit. We've got our prices there of what we normally charge. We do a per hectare pricing once you get past our minimum entry level. You need to provide your own GoPros or smartphones to use the app. We don't provide those, but we'll give you guidance on how to set them up and, have videos and things like that. At the end of the pilot project, we'd do a sort of round off end of season meeting with you. We would review the results in total and probably do a little video testimonial as well. And that's everything from me. So happy to answer questions.
Thanks very much, Fee. I really appreciate you taking us through, how it all comes together to get such an amazing forecast. We do have a couple of questions come through for you. First one being, does the product work outside?
Yeah, it sure does. It's been designed to work outside. So we've trained it, our AI on imagery on berries that are in the ground, berries that are on tabletops, berries that are under tunnels, that are in glass houses that are completely open. And it's been, trained all over the world. So yes.
Awesome. And how do you deal with light changes in the videos?
Yeah, so we knew to be able to scale and get the amount of data that we needed to build really good AI, that we needed data from all over the world. So we chose to use the GoPro camera because, building hardware is hard. We put the training into our artificial intelligence to deal with light and different light conditions. And so we deal with that at a software level. And, we forecasted over 29 billion blueberries that made it to market last year. It was just blueberries. So the system has been tried and tested. We get about 5 terabytes data a month, and it's really been put through its paces. So deals with different lighting conditions and trouncing and things like that really well, and different varieties well.
Awesome. And then the last one I've got here for you is, how are the videos taken from the GoPro/smartphone? I'm assuming that's how you get them from that device to your system.
Yep, it's pretty low tech. You take the SD card out and you put it into your laptop, and you drag the videos over into a folder structure that we go through and define with you guys, and then you let it upload overnight. Yep.
Simple as that. Awesome. If there's any other questions for Fee, feel free to pop them in the chat. Or if you want some more details or to talk through the offer for your farm specifically, feel free to use the QR code here on the screen, and we can connect you guys to have that conversation